6-year-old Priya Sharma had been missing for 18 hours when the search dogs finally picked up her scent leading into the Ranthambore forest, one of India's most dangerous tiger reserves, home to over 40 leopards that had been growing increasingly aggressive toward human settlements. The monsoon rains had washed out the main roads, cutting off access for police vehicles and emergency responders, leaving the terrified child alone in a wilderness where apex predators ruled the night. "We've lost radio contact with the ground search teams," reported Inspector Raj Patel to the Crisis Command Center. "The forest is too dense, and we can't get vehicles through the flooded roads." That's when Arjun Steel Singh, president of the Delhi Brotherhood MC, received the emergency call that would mobilize the largest motorcycle rescue operation in Indian history. 1,000 bikers from across North India were about to prove that angels sometimes wear leather and ride steel horses through impossible terrain to protect the innocent. Would you like to join us for this incredible journey? Subscribe to our channel now so you don't miss what happens next. The Delhi Brotherhood Motorcycle Club had been established 15 years earlier by veterans of the Indian Army's Special Forces units who found brotherhood and purpose in their shared love of motorcycles and commitment to serving their communities. What had started as a small group of former soldiers seeking camaraderie had grown into the largest veteran motorcycle organization in North India, with chapters spanning from Punjab to Uttar Pradesh. Arjun Steel Singh, the 52-year-old former Indian Army brigadier who led the Delhi Brotherhood, was conducting a routine club meeting when his secure phone rang with the distinctive tone reserved for emergency services. As a veteran of operations in Siachen Glacier, Kashmir, and counter-terrorism missions along the Pakistan border, Steel had learned to recognize the sound of genuine crisis in a voice. "Sir, this is Inspector Raj Patel, Rajasthan Police," came the urgent voice through his encrypted communication device. "We have a missing child situation that has escalated beyond our current capabilities. 6-year-old girl lost in Ranthambore forest for 18 hours. Monsoon floods have made the area inaccessible to our vehicles." Steele felt his blood turn cold as he processed the implications. Ranthambore was one of India's most dangerous wildlife reserves, home to Bengal tigers, leopards, wild boar, and venomous snakes. A 6-year-old child lost in that environment during monsoon season faced threats that could kill an adult within hours. "What's your current search status?" Steele asked, his military training automatically engaging as he shifted into tactical planning mode. "Ground teams are cut off by floodwaters. Helicopter support is grounded due to weather conditions. We have search dogs that tracked her scent to the forest entrance, but we can't follow the trail," Inspector Patel explained, his voice carrying the frustration of a professional who understood that time was running out. Steele studied the digital map displayed on his tablet, his decades of military experience allowing him to visualize the tactical challenges they were facing. Ranthambore Forest covered over 400 square kilometers of dense jungle, rocky terrain, and waterways that would be impassable for conventional vehicles during monsoon conditions. "Sir, how many motorcycles can your organization mobilize?" Inspector Patel asked. "We need vehicles that can navigate terrain where our police jeeps cannot go." "Give me 30 minutes to coordinate with our chapters," Steele replied. "We'll mobilize every available rider from Delhi to Rajasthan. This child is going to come home." If you're enjoying the story, write from which city you are listening to in the comments. The emergency mobilization of the Delhi Brotherhood MC was unlike anything the organization had ever attempted. Steele's first call went to Colonel Vikram Thunder Malhotra, president of the Jaipur chapter, and a former paratrooper whose tactical expertise had been proven in mountain warfare operations along the Chinese border. "Thunder, we have a child rescue emergency in Ranthambore. 6-year-old girl lost for 18 hours. Police vehicles can't access the search area due to flooding," Steele explained rapidly. "I need every motorcycle between Delhi and Jaipur mobilized within 2 hours." "Understood. Thunder replied without hesitation. "I can have 60 riders from Jaipur ready to move in 45 minutes. What about the other chapters?" "Already calling them," Steele confirmed. "This is going to be the largest motorcycle rescue operation in Indian history." The second call went to Major Suresh Blade Kumar, president of the Gurgaon chapter, whose engineering background had made him invaluable for complex logistics operations. "Blade, Emergency Child Rescue. I need your chapter plus any riders you can contact from NCR region." "How many do you need?" Blade asked, the sound of motorcycle engines already audible in the background. "All of them," Steele replied grimly. "Every single rider who can reach Ranthambore within 3 hours." Within minutes, the emergency alert system was activated across 8 chapters of the Delhi Brotherhood MC. Riders who were at work left their offices, mechanics abandoned their shops, retired veterans grabbed their keys, and students suspended their studies. The call was simple. A child was lost in deadly wilderness, and the Brotherhood was mobilizing to bring her home. Dr. Pradeep "Doc" Verma, a trauma surgeon riding with the Noida chapter, received the alert while completing surgery at All India Institute of Medical Sciences. "Tell the emergency coordinator I'll be there with full medical equipment," he radioed back. "If we find this child, she's going to need immediate medical attention." Captain Amit Hawk Sinha, a former helicopter pilot with the Delhi chapter, was studying weather reports and terrain maps within minutes of receiving the alert. "Steele, monsoon conditions are going to make navigation extremely difficult. We need tactical coordination and GPS waypoint distribution to prevent our own people from getting lost." The response exceeded every expectation Steele had developed in 15 years of leading the Delhi Brotherhood. By the time he reached the Ranthambore staging area, 847 motorcycles had already assembled, with additional riders still arriving from distant chapters. The sight was spectacular and intimidating. Nearly 1,000 motorcycles organized in military formation, their riders wearing the distinctive black leather vests of the Delhi Brotherhood MC. Inspector Patel met Steele at the police command post, his expression showing both relief and amazement at the massive volunteer response. "Sir, we've never seen anything like this. How did you mobilize so many people so quickly?" "When a child is in danger, Brotherhood responds," Steele replied simply. "What's our current intelligence on the missing girl?" "Priya Sharma, 6 years old, visiting her grandparents in the village adjacent to the reserve." Inspector Patel briefed the assembled chapter presidents. "She was playing near the forest edge when she chased a peacock into the trees. Ground search teams tracked her for approximately 3 kilometers before losing the trail at a river crossing." Doc Verma raised his hand with crucial medical questions. "How long has she been without food and water? What kind of clothing was she wearing? Any known medical conditions?" 18 hours without supplies. She was wearing a red dress and sandals, not equipped for wilderness survival. No known medical issues, but hypothermia and dehydration are immediate concerns." Thunder studied the topographic maps with his paratrooper expertise. "What's our wildlife threat assessment? Ranthambore isn't just tigers and leopards. There are sloth bears, wild boar, and venomous snakes that pose immediate danger to search teams. If you've watched this far, say in the comments, what secret do you keep?" Inspector Patel's expression grew grave. "We have 43 leopards in the reserve, plus 12 tigers and approximately 200 wild boar. Monsoon season makes them more aggressive as they compete for higher ground. Any search team entering that forest is at significant risk." Steele absorbed the tactical information with the methodical approach that had kept his soldiers alive through decades of dangerous operations. 1,000 motorcycles represented an enormous search capability, but they also represented 1,000 lives at risk from apex predators operating in their natural environment. "All right, brothers," Steele addressed the assembled chapter presidents, his voice carrying the authority of military command, combined with the respect earned through brotherhood. This is the most dangerous rescue operation any of us has ever attempted. We're entering predator territory during their most aggressive season to find a 6-year-old child who may not survive another night." He pointed to the detailed forest map displayed on the command vehicle's planning board. "We organize into search teams of 50 motorcycles each. Every team has medical personnel, communications equipment, and wildlife deterrent devices. No one operates alone. No one takes unnecessary risks. We find this child and bring her home safely." Blade raised his hand with logistics concerns. "Steele, what about fuel and supply lines? Some of our riders traveled 3 hours to get here, and we're looking at potentially 8 hours of search operations through difficult terrain." "Already coordinated," replied Captain Ramesh Fuel Gupta, the organization's logistics specialist. "We have mobile refueling stations positioned at 5-kilometer intervals along the main forest access roads." The search operation that began at dawn represented the largest civilian rescue effort in Indian history. 1,000 motorcycles organized into 20 search teams entered Ranthambore Forest with military precision, their engines creating a mechanical thunderstorm that echoed through valleys where tigers and leopards normally reigned supreme. Steele led Alpha Team into the dense jungle, his modified Royal Enfield navigating terrain that would have stopped conventional vehicles within minutes. Behind him, 49 other riders moved in tactical formation, their experience as soldiers translating perfectly to navigation through hostile wilderness. "Alpha Team, this is Steele," he radioed to his formation. "Remember your wildlife protocols. Leopards are ambush predators that attack from trees and high rocks. Tigers prefer water sources and tall grass. If you see fresh pug marks or scat, report position immediately." Sabine, the first 3 hours of searching revealed just how vast and dangerous Ranthambore truly was. The forest seemed designed to swallow humans, with dense vegetation that limited visibility to 20 meters, rocky terrain that could conceal predators, and water crossings where crocodiles waited patiently for unwary prey. "Bravo Team to control," radioed Thunder from his sector. "We found children's footprints near the Malik Talau Lake, approximately 4 kilometers from her last known position. Prints are 18 hours old, but the trail continues southeast into thick forest." Steele felt hope and dread in equal measure. Priya had survived the night, but she was moving deeper into the most dangerous part of the reserve, an area where 3 tigers had established territorial boundaries and leopards hunted regularly. "Charlie Team, Delta Team, converge on Bravo's position," Steele ordered. "All other teams maintain search patterns. We may have found her trail." The convergence of 200 motorcycles at Malik Talau created a scene that wildlife photographers would have paid fortunes to capture. The massive machines looked alien against the ancient forest backdrop, their riders scanning the ground for signs of a lost child while keeping constant watch for predators that could attack without warning. Doc Verma examined the footprints with medical and forensic expertise. Stride length indicates she was running when she made these tracks. No signs of injury in the gait pattern, but she was definitely scared and moving fast. "Running from what?" asked Hawk, his pilot training making him think about threats from multiple directions. The answer came from an unexpected source. Local wildlife guide Mohan Lal, who had joined the search effort, pointed to parallel tracks in the mud beside Priya's footprints. "Leopard," he said simply. "Adult female, probably stalking the child from about 50 meters behind." If you're enjoying the story, write from which city you are listening to in the comments. The revelation that Priya had been actively hunted by a leopard changed the entire tactical situation. She wasn't just lost. She was being pursued by one of nature's most efficient predators, an animal capable of killing prey much larger than a 6-year-old child. "All teams be advised," Steele announced through the radio network. "Target is being actively hunted by adult female leopard. Threat level is now critical. No team operates with fewer than 20 riders. Wildlife deterrent protocols are now mandatory." The The search teams reorganized themselves into larger formations, designed to provide mutual protection against predator attacks, while maintaining the ability to cover vast areas of forest terrain. The sound of their engines served as psychological warfare against wildlife that had never encountered such overwhelming mechanical presence. Team Echo, led by Captain Sunil Tiger Yadav, was following a tributary of the Malik Talao when they discovered evidence that made every searcher's blood run cold. "Control, this is Tiger," came his urgent radio call. "We have leopard kills at grid reference 7-6 Alpha, multiple deer carcasses, fresh blood, signs of feeding territory." Steele studied his tactical map, understanding immediately what Tiger had found. Leopards established feeding territories where they brought kills to consume over several days. If Priya had wandered into such an area, she was in immediate mortal danger. "All teams converge on Echo's position," Steele ordered. "This is now a time-critical rescue. If that leopard decides the child is prey, we may have minutes before she becomes the next kill." The sight that greeted the search teams at the leopard's feeding territory was something that would haunt them for the rest of their lives. 6 freshly killed deer hung from tree branches, their carcasses partially consumed in the methodical fashion of big cats who cached food for extended periods. The ground was trampled with pug marks, showing that multiple leopards had been feeding in the area. And in the center of this killing ground, they found Priya's red hair ribbon caught on a thorn bush. "She was here," Doc Verma confirmed, examining the ribbon for any signs of blood or violence. "No blood, no tissue damage. She lost this while moving through the area, probably catching it on thorns while running." Mohan Lal studied the complex track patterns with the expertise that came from 30 years of guiding wildlife tourists. 2 leopards, he reported grimly. Adult female and juvenile male. They were tracking her through this area approximately 6 hours ago. "Which direction?" Steele asked, dreading the answer. Mohan pointed toward the densest part of the forest, where ancient trees created a canopy so thick that midday looked like twilight. "Into the core territory. That is where the big cats take their prey to finish the kill." The final phase of the search required courage that transcended military training or motorcycle brotherhood. 500 riders volunteered to enter the leopard's core territory, knowing that they were riding into an area where humans were viewed as prey by animals that had perfected killing techniques over millions of years of evolution. "Brothers," Steele addressed the volunteer force, his voice carrying the gravity of someone who had led men into combat and understood the weight of life and death decisions. "What we're about to attempt goes beyond rescue operations. We're entering the territory of apex predators to save a child who may already be dead. Anyone who wants to turn back has my complete understanding and respect." Not a single rider moved toward the exit. "Then we ride together and we bring Priya home," Steele declared. The procession of 500 motorcycles that entered the leopard's core territory represented something unprecedented in wildlife conservation history, the largest human incursion into apex predator habitat ever attempted for civilian rescue purposes. The mechanical thunder of their engines echoed through valleys where only animal calls had been heard for centuries, announcing to every predator within miles that something extraordinary was happening in their domain. Steele led the formation through terrain that seemed designed by nature to favor ambush predators over their prey. Massive rocks provided elevated positions where leopards could launch attacks. Dense vegetation created concealment for stalking, and the constant sound of running water masked the approach sounds that normally warned potential victims of impending danger. "Alpha formation. This is Steele," he radioed to the lead search teams. "Visibility is dropping to 10 meters in some areas. Maintain constant visual contact with your wingman. If anyone sees movement in the trees or rocks above, signal immediately." The search had taken on an urgency that went beyond finding a lost child. Every member of the Delhi Brotherhood understood that they were racing against time before natural predators completed a hunt that had been in progress for nearly 20 hours. Leopards were patient stalkers who could follow prey for days before striking, but they eventually reached a point where hunger overcame caution. Doc Verma, riding near the center of the formation with complete mobile medical equipment, had been calculating the physiological challenges facing a 6-year-old child after 20 hours in monsoon forest conditions. Steel, hypothermia, and dehydration are immediate concerns, but if she's been running from predators, her adrenaline levels may have kept her warm and alert longer than normal. Meaning what? Steele asked. Meaning she might still be alive and mobile, but when her adrenaline crashes, she'll become completely helpless within minutes, Doc explained. We need to find her before her body reaches physical exhaustion. The terrain became increasingly challenging as they penetrated deeper into the reserve's core territory. Rocky outcroppings forced the motorcycles into single-file passages where attacks from above would be impossible to defend against. Stream crossings required careful navigation to avoid submerged obstacles that could trap riders in areas where rescue would be extremely difficult. If you're enjoying the story, write from which city you are listening to in the comments. Captain Amit Hawk Sinha, whose helicopter experience had taught him to read terrain from above, spotted something that made him signal for an immediate halt. Steele, we have movement in the rocks directly ahead, something large, possibly feline, watching our approach. 500 motorcycles came to synchronized stops as riders scanned the rocky outcroppings ahead for signs of the predator that Hawk had detected. The silence that followed the engine shutdown was profound and terrifying, the kind of wilderness quiet that city dwellers never experienced, where every sound could represent life or death. Then they heard it, a child's voice, weak but unmistakable, calling for help in Hindi from somewhere ahead in the rocks. Help me, please, someone help me. Priya's voice carried across the forest with the desperation of someone who had been alone with terror for too long. That's her, Steele announced, relief and determination flooding his voice. All teams, form protective perimeter. Medical team, prepare for immediate intervention. This is what we came for. The tactical challenge was immediate and complex. Priya was somewhere in the rocky terrain ahead, but so was at least one leopard, possibly more. The search teams needed to locate and extract the child while protecting themselves and her from predators that could attack from any direction. Echo team, approach from the south, Steele ordered through radio. Fox team, take the eastern approach. Medical team, maintain center position for immediate response. All teams watch for movement above and maintain maximum noise discipline. Mohan Lal, the wildlife guide, raised his hand urgently. Sir, if the child has been calling out, the leopards know exactly where she is. They may be waiting for her to tire herself out, or they may be waiting for us to leave before completing their hunt. The implications were terrifying. Priya might be serving as unwitting bait in a trap where predators waited for human rescuers to place themselves in vulnerable positions before attacking multiple targets simultaneously. All teams assume hostile animal contact is imminent, Steele announced. Wildlife deterrent protocols are now mandatory. Air horns, flares, maximum engine noise on my signal. Indeed, the approach to Priya's location required precision that would have challenged professional military units. 50 riders moved through rocky terrain where every shadow could conceal an ambush predator, their bikes navigating passages barely wide enough for human passage. Their constant vigilance focused on threats that could materialize from any direction. I see her, radioed Captain Tiger Yadav from Echo Team's position. 20 meters ahead, elevated position on rock outcropping. She appears conscious and mobile but exhausted. Through binoculars, the rescue teams could finally see Priya clearly. The 6-year-old was crouched on a narrow ledge approximately 6 meters above ground level, her red dress torn but still visible, her face streaked with tears and exhaustion but showing no obvious injuries. "Priya!" Steele called out in Hindi. "We're here to help you. Stay exactly where you are. Don't try to climb down." "Uncle, there are big cats," she called back, her voice breaking with relief at finally hearing adult voices. "They've been following me all night. I climbed up here, but they keep coming back." Dr. Verma moved forward with his medical assessment kit, studying Priya's position and condition through professional eyes. "She's dehydrated and exhausted, but alert and responsive. No visible injuries from this distance. The elevated position probably saved her life. Leopards can climb, but they prefer easier prey than something requiring vertical pursuit." The extraction plan required coordination between motorcycle positioning, medical intervention, and wildlife management. Priya was safe temporarily on her rocky ledge, but getting her down to ground level and transported to medical care meant exposing both rescuers and victim to predator attacks. "Here's our approach," Steele announced to the rescue teams. "Hawk and Tiger will position their bikes directly below her location. Doc will climb up to provide medical assessment and assist with descent. The rest of us form a protective circle with maximum noise and movement to deter predator approach." The plan went into action with military precision. 2 motorcycles positioned themselves to provide a stable platform for Priya's descent, while 48 others formed an expanding circle that created the largest human presence ever assembled in this part of the reserve. Dr. Verma began his climb up the rocky outcropping, his medical training combining with basic mountaineering skills he had learned during military service. "Priya, I'm Dr. Verma. I'm coming to help you. Have you been hurt anywhere?" "My feet hurt from running, and I'm so thirsty," she replied, her voice gaining strength as rescue became real rather than hoped for. "The leopards kept getting closer, so I climbed up here and stayed very still like Grandfather taught me." "Your grandfather is very wise," Doc confirmed as he reached her ledge. "And you were very smart to follow his advice." The medical assessment was rapid but thorough. Severe dehydration, exhaustion, minor cuts and bruises on feet and legs from running through forest terrain. Doc radioed to the medical team below. "No signs of serious injury or disease. She needs immediate fluid replacement and warming." The descent from Priya's rocky refuge required precise coordination between motorcycle positioning, human strength, and child psychology. Doc needed to lower a frightened 6-year-old from a height where a fall could cause serious injury, while maintaining his own balance on unstable rock surfaces. "Priya, I'm going to put you on my back, and we're going to climb down together very slowly," Doc explained in the gentle voice he used with pediatric patients. "Hold on tight and don't look down." The climb down seemed to take forever, but actually required only 12 minutes of careful movement. When Doc's feet finally touched solid ground, with Priya safe on his back, 500 motorcycles erupted in celebratory engine revs that could be heard throughout the entire forest reserve. "Package secured," Steele announced into his radio with the relief of someone who had completed an impossible mission. Medical assessment in progress, preparing for evacuation to advance medical care. Eek, if you've watched this far, say in the comments, what secret do you keep? The evacuation of Priya from the core leopard territory required the same tactical precision as her rescue, but with the added challenge of transporting a dehydrated child through difficult terrain to reach medical facilities. Dr. Verma had established IV fluid replacement and wrapped her in emergency warming blankets, but she needed hospital-level care as soon as possible. "Control, this is Steele," he radioed to Inspector Patel. "We have recovered the missing child. She's alive, conscious, and in stable condition. Medical evacuation to nearest hospital is priority 1. The response from the police command post was immediate and emotional. "Outstanding work, Steele. Ambulance services are standing by at the forest entrance. The family has been notified that she's been found alive." In the procession that emerged from Ranthambore Forest 2 hours later was unlike anything the local community had ever witnessed. 500 motorcycles in perfect formation, their riders wearing the satisfied expressions of people who had accomplished something extraordinary, carrying a 6-year-old child who waved weakly but happily to the crowds that had gathered to welcome her home. Priya's parents, Rajesh and Sunita Sharma were waiting at the forest entrance with tears streaming down their faces and gratitude that had no words adequate to express it. When Dr. Verma placed their daughter in their arms, the emotional impact was visible throughout the assembled crowd of rescuers, officials, and community members. "You brought her back," Sunita whispered to Steele, her voice breaking with emotions that had been held in check for 24 hours. We thought we had lost her forever." "She's a brave girl," Steele replied, kneeling down to Priya's eye level as she was loaded into the waiting ambulance. "You did exactly what your grandfather taught you, and it saved your life." "Uncle, will you come visit me in the hospital?" Priya asked, with the directness that only children possess. "We'll all come visit you," Steele promised, speaking for the entire Delhi Brotherhood. "You're part of our family now." The media coverage of Priya's rescue was immediate and extensive, but it focused primarily on the Forest Service and police coordination rather than the volunteer motorcycle club that had provided the actual rescue capability. News reports described massive search operations and successful interagency cooperation, without mentioning that 1,000 bikers had risked their lives to save one child from predators. "Why doesn't the media tell the real story?" asked Thunder during their post-operation debriefing. "Because the real story doesn't fit their narrative," Steele replied philosophically. "They can't explain why a motorcycle club would mobilize 1,000 riders to save a child they'd never met. It's easier to credit official agencies. But for the Delhi Brotherhood MC, media recognition was irrelevant compared to the knowledge that their brotherhood had saved a life and proved that civilian volunteers could accomplish missions that official agencies couldn't handle. 2 weeks after her rescue, Priya had recovered completely from her ordeal and was eager to meet the motorcycle uncles who had saved her life. The Delhi Brotherhood organized a celebration in her honor that brought together not just the riders who had participated in the rescue, but their families and the broader community that had supported the operation. The celebration took place at the Delhi Brotherhood's main clubhouse, a large facility that had been donated by a grateful businessman whose own daughter had been helped by the club's community service programs. The building was decorated with banners celebrating Priya's rescue, and tables were laden with traditional Indian food prepared by the wives and mothers of Delhi Brotherhood members. "I want to learn to ride a motorcycle when I grow up," Priya announced to the assembled crowd of over 300 people, her confidence completely restored by her experience with the Delhi Brotherhood. "So I can help save other children like my uncles saved me." Steele smiled as he presented Priya with a miniature leather vest decorated with patches commemorating her rescue and her honorary membership in the Delhi Brotherhood family. "When you're old enough, we'll teach you to ride safely. But more importantly, we'll teach you that protecting others is the most important thing people can do." The relationship between Priya's family and the Delhi Brotherhood had evolved beyond the immediate rescue into something more permanent and meaningful. Rajesh Sharma, Priya's father, had been so impressed by the organization's dedication and values that he requested to join their community service activities despite having no military background or previous motorcycle experience. "These men risked their lives for my daughter without expecting anything in return," Rajesh explained to local media during the celebration. "They showed me what true brotherhood means, and I want to be part of that." Sunita Sharma, Priya's mother, had initially been skeptical of motorcycle clubs based on negative stereotypes she had seen in movies and television. But the genuine care and protection her family had received from the Delhi Brotherhood had completely changed her perspective. "Before this happened, I would have been afraid if I saw a group of motorcycle riders," Sunita admitted during her speech to the celebration. "Now I know that they are protectors, guardians, and friends. They saved my daughter's life, but they also saved our family's faith in humanity. Dr. Verma had taken personal responsibility for monitoring Priya's recovery and ensuring that she received any psychological support needed to process her traumatic experience in the forest. His medical expertise, combined with his genuine affection for the child, had made him an ideal advocate for her long-term well-being. "She's remarkably resilient," he reported to Steele during one of their regular check-ins. "The experience was terrifying, but she feels empowered by having survived it and being rescued by people who cared enough to risk danger for her." The rescue operation had also attracted attention from wildlife conservation groups who were impressed by the Delhi Brotherhood's ability to conduct large-scale operations in sensitive ecological areas without causing environmental damage or disturbing wildlife patterns beyond the immediate emergency. 1,000 motorcycles entered our reserve, conducted intensive search operations for over 8 hours, and extracted a child without harming a single animal or causing lasting damage to any habitat, reported Dr. Rajesh Gopal, former director of Project Tiger. This demonstrates that human emergency response and wildlife conservation can coexist when operations are conducted with proper planning and respect for environmental values. If you're enjoying the story, write from which city you are listening to in the comments. 3 months after the rescue, the Delhi Brotherhood MC had begun receiving requests from police departments throughout North India for assistance with search and rescue operations in remote areas where conventional vehicles couldn't operate effectively. Their success in saving Priya had demonstrated capabilities that complemented official emergency response resources. We've received 12 formal requests for assistance from state and local police agencies, reported Blade Kumar during the organization's monthly leadership meeting. Child rescues, missing person searches, disaster relief operations in areas where our motorcycles can provide access that other vehicles cannot. Steele considered the implications of formalizing their emergency response capabilities. Are we prepared to take on that kind of responsibility? Official search and rescue operations mean liability, training requirements, coordination with multiple agencies. "We're already doing it," pointed out Thunder. "We just proved we can mobilize 1,000 riders within hours for emergency response. The only question is whether we want to make it official." The decision to formally establish the Delhi Brotherhood Emergency Response Division required extensive planning and coordination with government agencies, insurance companies, and training organizations. But the foundation had been laid by their successful rescue of Priya and the relationships they had built with law enforcement and emergency management officials. 6 months after the rescue, the Delhi Brotherhood had formalized their emergency response capabilities through partnerships with state police agencies, forest services, and medical organizations throughout North India. Their success in saving Priya had demonstrated that volunteer motorcycle clubs could provide rapid response capabilities in terrain where conventional vehicles couldn't operate. "We've created something unique," Steele reflected during the organization's annual meeting. "A civilian emergency response capability that can mobilize hundreds of vehicles and train personnel within hours for any crisis involving children or families in remote areas." The formal recognition came with additional responsibilities and opportunities. The Delhi Brotherhood Emergency Response Division had become eligible for government funding to support training, equipment, and operations. They had also gained access to advanced communication systems and coordination protocols that enhanced their effectiveness. The Priya Protocol had become the standard operating procedure for child rescue operations in wilderness areas, combining motorcycle mobility with military-style coordination and medical support. The Delhi Brotherhood's training manual was being studied by emergency response agencies across India and internationally. Thunder raised his hand during the meeting. "Steele, we've received requests from motorcycle clubs in Thailand, Indonesia, and Nepal to provide training for similar emergency response programs. They want to develop their own child rescue capabilities." The international recognition represented validation for everything the Delhi Brotherhood had accomplished, but it also represented an opportunity to help children beyond India's borders who faced similar dangers in remote wilderness areas. "What do you think, brothers?" Steele asked the assembled chapter presidents. "Should we share what we've learned with clubs in other countries?" The unanimous response was immediate and enthusiastic. The Delhi Brotherhood had discovered that their greatest mission wasn't behind them in military service. It was ahead of them, in protecting children who needed the kind of help that only dedicated volunteers could provide. The first international training program took place 8 months after Priya's rescue, when representatives from 12 motorcycle clubs across Southeast Asia traveled to Delhi for a 2-week intensive course in wilderness search and rescue techniques. The program covered everything from tactical formation, riding through difficult terrain, to medical assessment and treatment of children in emergency situations. "The techniques you've developed save lives," commented Captain Somchai Patana, president of the Royal Thai Veterans Motorcycle Club. "We face similar challenges with children lost in jungle areas during monsoon season. Your Priya protocol could help us save lives in Thailand." 1 year after her rescue from Ranthambore Forest, Priya Sharma had become something of a celebrity within the Indian motorcycle community. Her story was told at bike rallies across the country, inspiring other clubs to develop their own community service programs focused on child protection and family support. But the celebration of her first rescue anniversary was more than just commemorating her survival. It was celebrating the transformation of an entire community of motorcycle enthusiasts into a network of child protectors and family advocates. The anniversary celebration took place at the same location where the original rescue operation had been launched, with over 1,500 motorcycles participating in a memorial ride that traced the route the search teams had followed into Ranthambore Forest. The ride concluded with a community festival that brought together families from across North India to celebrate the values of brotherhood, service, and protection of the innocent. 1 year ago, I was lost and afraid in the forest. 7-year-old Priya addressed the massive crowd with confidence that amazed everyone who remembered the frightened child who had been rescued from the leopards. Today, I'm surrounded by family. Not just my parents and grandparents, but hundreds of uncles and aunties who showed me that there are always people willing to help when children need protection. She paused, looking out at the sea of leather-clad bikers who had become her extended family. I want everyone to know that the Delhi Brotherhood didn't just save my life that day. They saved my belief that good people exist in the world and that prayers are answered when we need them most. If you've watched this far, say in the comments, what secret do you keep? Doctor. Verma observed the celebration with the professional satisfaction of someone who had witnessed both medical and psychological healing. She's not just recovered from the trauma, she's grown stronger because of it. Children who survive dangerous experiences with strong support systems often develop remarkable resilience and leadership abilities. Steele nodded as he watched Priya demonstrate basic motorcycle maintenance to a group of younger children during the Delhi Brotherhood's community education program. She understands something that took us years to learn, that the most important thing adults can do is protect children and teach them to protect others. D. The educational component of Priya's relationship with the Delhi Brotherhood had become a formal mentorship program that provided academic support, life skills training, and leadership development for children from families throughout the region. The Little Brotherhood program, as it had become known, served over 200 children whose families had been helped by the organization's various community service activities. 18 months after her rescue, Priya had become the youngest spokesperson for motorcycle safety and wilderness survival education in India. Her presentations to school groups combined her personal story with practical information about staying safe in outdoor environments and understanding the role of emergency responders. If you're ever lost in the forest, remember 3 things: Priya would tell audiences of children her own age. Stay in one place so people can find you. Make yourself visible with bright colors or signals, and never give up hope that help is coming. The impact of her educational activities extended far beyond safety training. Priya had become a bridge between the motorcycle community and civilian families who had previously viewed bikers with suspicion or fear. Her enthusiastic endorsement of the Delhi Brotherhood had helped break down stereotypes and build community relationships. 2 years after a 6-year-old girl had been lost in leopard territory and found by 1,000 bikers, the Delhi Brotherhood MC had become the largest child protection organization in North India. Their programs provided emergency response, educational support, medical assistance, and community service that touched thousands of families across the region. The organization's growth had been guided by the principles they had discovered during Priya's rescue. When children are in danger, nothing else matters. Every program, every policy, every decision was evaluated against the standard of whether it would help protect children and strengthen families. The Delhi Brotherhood Emergency Response Division had successfully completed 47 rescue operations in the 2 years since Priya's case, saving 31 children and adults from various emergency situations in remote areas throughout North India. Their success rate was unprecedented in civilian search and rescue operations, but statistics only told part of the story. The real measure of their success was visible in the confidence of children like Priya, who had grown up knowing that there were adults in the world willing to risk everything to protect them. "She's going to be extraordinary," Dr. Verma observed during one of Priya's regular checkups. Children who survive traumatic experiences with strong support systems often develop remarkable resilience and empathy. "She's already talking about becoming a doctor so she can help other children." Steele nodded with the pride of someone who had watched a frightened child transform into a confident young leader. "She understands something that most adults never learn, that the strongest people are those who use their strength to protect others." The third anniversary of Priya's rescue was marked by the establishment of the Priya Sharma Foundation for Child Safety, an educational and advocacy organization dedicated to teaching wilderness survival skills and supporting emergency response training for civilian volunteers. The foundation was funded by donations from motorcycle clubs across Asia and supported by government agencies that had recognized the value of trained civilian emergency responders. 3 years ago, a little girl got lost in the forest and taught 1,000 bikers what they were really meant to do. Priya addressed the foundation's inaugural ceremony with the poise of someone who had grown comfortable with public speaking. Today, that same little girl is helping teach other children how to stay safe and showing adults how to work together to protect everyone's children. The Foundation's programs included wilderness safety education for schools, emergency response training for volunteer organizations, and support services for families affected by search and rescue incidents. But its most important function was serving as a living memorial to the principle that had guided every aspect of the Delhi Brotherhood's evolution. Protecting children is everyone's responsibility. The media attention that the Foundation received finally told the complete story of how 1,000 bikers had risked their lives to save Priya from the leopards. News reports that had initially focused on official agency coordination now acknowledged the volunteer motorcycle club that had provided the actual rescue capability. "It's taken 3 years, but people are finally understanding what really happened that day," commented Thunder during the Foundation's board meeting. "A child was in danger, and the Brotherhood responded. The important thing isn't getting credit," Steele replied. "The important thing is making sure other children have the same protection Priya had when she needed it most." By the 5th anniversary of her rescue, 10-year-old Priya Sharma had become an internationally recognized advocate for child safety and emergency preparedness. Her presentations had been delivered to audiences in 12 countries, and her children's book about wilderness survival had been translated into 8 languages. But for Steele and the Delhi Brotherhood, the real measure of their success wasn't in awards or recognition. It was in the confidence and joy they saw in a child who had survived 20 hours alone with leopards and grown up knowing that there were people in the world who would risk everything to protect children they had never met. "She represents everything we fought to protect," Steele reflected during the anniversary celebration, watching Priya teach a group of younger children basic motorcycle safety. A child who is safe, confident, educated, and committed to helping others. The transformation that had begun with a child's prayer for help in the darkness of Ranthambore Forest had created a network of protection that spanned continents and cultures. The Delhi Brotherhood Emergency Response International had trained volunteer rescue teams in 27 countries, established safety education programs in hundreds of schools, and created a legacy that would protect children for generations to come. If you're enjoying the story, write from which city you're listening to in the comments. The media had finally told the complete story, but it was the families they had helped, the children they had saved, and the communities they had served who understood the deeper truth. Angels sometimes wear leather jackets and ride motorcycles, and they appear exactly when prayers are whispered in the darkest moments of need.